Hey, shalom, brothers and sisters. Good morning. Most High in Christ bless you. Can you hear me? If y'all can hear me, just put a Y in the comments, please. And y'all please put a Y for yes if you could hear me. I can go ahead and get started. Anyone? Okay, thank you, Ebony. All right. Crystal, thank you. All right, brothers and sisters, Most High in Christ bless you. I'm Captain Aparium. Some of y'all have seen me teach on Daily Bread before. It's been about a month since I've been on. So praises to the Most High for the opportunity to come back on and edify my brothers and sisters. The topic today is going to be, I mean, they're always serious topics, right? But it's going to be an in-depth topic regarding predominantly Northern Kingdom. And I'm going to show you, first and foremost, according to the scriptures, biblical and scholarly proof who the Northern Kingdom is. All right, who are the 9 tribes, if you will, right? Because we know that Southern Kingdom consists of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and the Northern Kingdom starts with Ephraim. All right, so Judah being the head of the Southern Kingdom, Ephraim being the head of the Northern Kingdom, and as it says in Ezekiel 37, the stick of Judah and the stick of Joseph, Ephraim, going to come together as one stick, and that's what this mission is all about. That's what this is all about. Why we have daily bread every day. Why we out there teaching on the streets. Why we have online videos. Why you see all the leadership and ranking men that are authorized to teach teaching. Right. It's about waking up the 12 tribes of Israel. So I'm going to go ahead, like I said, first and foremost through the scriptures, edify you on more information about the Northern Kingdom. I personally am from the tribe of Ephraim, who are so-called Puerto Ricans. And it's interesting because, maybe not so much today. I'm sure there probably still is some people that may not know what a quote-unquote Puerto Rican is. I know that came to light. I believe it was probably about 2 years ago with that hurricane, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Hurricane Maria that hit Puerto Rico, and as y'all know, okay, they got devastated. Trump went out there and made a mockery, throwing paper towels like he was shooting hoops. In fact, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was quoted as saying he didn't even know Puerto Rico was part of the United States. So, that's all part of the, of course, the crafty council. It's all part of people being ignorant. And again, not ignorant in a way, ignorance is not a bad word, it just means you don't know. All right, so I'm going to clear up in this class today. I may go a little past an hour and a half, only because there's a lot of information I want to cover. I covered this topic many years ago when I was still back at living in New York and I was at headquarters, IUIC headquarters in New York in the Bronx camp. And throughout the years, I've covered it in various different ways over the years. Okay, bits and pieces here. So, plus there may be some questions that, still some of y'all, who are probably from, Southern Kingdom, believe that this is the truth, believe that you're an Israelite from the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, or Levi, but may still have maybe not a clear understanding of who the Northern Kingdom tribes is, right? So I want to start off. The title of the class is, I believe, Judah, Judah and Israel have been oppressed together. I thought I typed it here. Maybe you guys will see it. Brothers and sisters will see it on somewhere here. Okay. So that being said, we're going to be utilizing predominantly this book here. Okay, it's called Puerto Rico: The Flame of Resistance. This is a very old book. This was published in 1977. And I mean, there's a lot of great information in here, but I'm just going to focus on the prologue. Just a page and a half of the prologue. It's going to take your understanding of who Northern Kingdom is to a whole different level. All right. Unfortunately and strategically, I'm going to say the media doesn't report the other tribes being in oppression. Doesn't report now. They're doing it more so now with the COVID-19 virus. I've seen quite a few articles saying that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans have been disproportionately affected by this virus. All right, so it's not going to come to the forefront. The Most High is putting a spirit on Esau to go ahead and report us to bring that information out. So again, I don't believe in coincidences. There's no coincidence with the Most High, Bishop, and the other deacons and captains and other men that have been teaching, have been going over certain aspects of that on their classes. So in light of everything that's going on, Spirit came on me to go ahead and bring out this class again. All right. I highly recommend, you take copious notes, really meditate on these scriptures, and Lord willing, you'll get a very good understanding of how the Northern Kingdom, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Cubans, Mexicans, Colombians, Nicaraguans, Mexicans, Chileans, Argentina, all the South America, Central South American countries, Gad, Reuben, how we make up the 12 tribes of Israel. All right. So that being said, the other book I'm going to utilize as well is a book called The Black Indians. Okay, very good book. Ironically, all right, or again, I don't believe in coincidence, but if you see there, you have a Gadite and a Judite here on the cover of the book. No coincidence, okay? And you look at the author, it's William Loring Katz, okay? An Edomite is the author on here. And then if I have time, I'll try to hit this book here as more proof of who the Northern Kingdom is. So let's start out with, we're going to go to Jeremiah 50 and 33. 50 and 33. All right, so the scripture says, "Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together." When the Bible mentions the children of Israel, it's talking about the Northern Kingdom. All right, predominantly when it's, especially when it's in the same verse and it mentions the tribe of Judah in there as well. So it says, "We were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go." So it's letting you know right there, not only that we were oppressed together and are continued to be oppressed together, but that all that took us captives, all right, meaning that we were all 12 tribes, okay, yes, including the Native Americans and Hispanics, were all and have all been in slavery. Have all been in slavery. We are all in captivity. Okay, we are all in captivity. So, again, the classes that Bishop has been bringing out, and I'm sure a lot of the other leadership that has been teaching, they've been mentioning how it's been hitting us, this coronavirus, hard. We had actually two brothers that Bishop brought on yesterday that were unnecessarily and murdered, okay, by the oppressor. All right, two Caucasian uh, men went ahead for no doggone reason. Okay, our brother was just jogging in his own neighborhood, okay, in jogging apparel. All right, they didn't have no knapsack. They didn't have anything other than a t-shirt and shorts and sneakers and socks. Yet he appeared suspicious. Okay, uh, when you're gonna go ahead and do anything suspicious, you should be able to have or commit a crime. You should be able to have pockets or something, or where you could carry a weapon or at least burglar's tools. Because I think they mentioned that as well. So uh, it always hits me hard when any of our brothers and sisters uh, get murdered, okay, unnecessarily, whether it be by a civilian or law enforcement. But I guess maybe as the days are getting shorter, we're getting nearer to the end. This one really, I mean, I'm furious. I'm furious. So, but you know what? We know that primarily Esau is the main culprit, the main oppressor. But let's not forget the other nations are involved in that as well. When you read Psalms 83, and they're culprits in this, right? Okay, but let's not forget, and I don't want to digress too much from the topic, but let's not forget that at the end of the day, we're in these situations because we're rebellious as a people and we refuse to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. So at the end of the day, the fault really lies on us. The Most High just had to go ahead and, like they say in Spanish, put the tati quieto. That means we had to basically put us in check so that we can go ahead and get ourselves right. All right, so he had to put the menial nations underneath us, that are underneath us, to go ahead and rule over us until we can get our spirits right and we can get our souls right and unite back again as the mighty nation that we are. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into it. A lot going on in the world, and another reason why, like I said, this is I felt it was important to go over this at this time because if you've been following me these past months that I've been teaching on the Daily Bread, my theme has been nothing real deep. It's basically been about, are we ready for what's to come? Are we ready first, right? Lord willing, He has mercy on us and He sees us fit. Okay, I pray that we all are able to make it to the kingdom. But remember, before the kingdom, we have to go into the wilderness. And I've mentioned it many times before, that the wilderness concerns me because in the wilderness is showtime. All right, the lights are on. All right, Floyd Mayweather always said, the boxer Floyd Mayweather, that people could talk all they want, but when the lights are on and they're in that ring, it's a different game. All right, so when the lights are on and the rehearsing the righteous acts is over, like it says in Judges 5 and 11, all right, it's game time. And the judgments aren't going to be, well, go watch from home until you get your spirit right. Okay, we'll bring you back once, brothers and sisters have been keeping in touch with you and, you've repented, you have godly sorrow, and then you could come back and start congregating. Now, them days are over once we're in the wilderness. Okay, those days are over once we're in the wilderness. Let me prove that to you real quick. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to digress too much from the class, but let me just prove that because I know y'all heard me say that a lot of times. You hear a lot of the teachers say that, right? But 1 second. But got to prove all things, right? Bring out scriptures. So let's go to. Give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second. Let me just make sure that's what I want. Okay, Ezekiel 20, verse 38. Ezekiel 20, verse 38. I know there's usually a brother that scribes, puts the scriptures on. So if you don't mind, brother, or if anyone can go ahead and put the scriptures on, that'll be great. All right, so it says, and I will purge out from among you the rebels and them that transgress against me. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel, and you shall know that I am the Lord. So what's Ezekiel talking about in the spirit of the Most High God? He's talking about in that day in the wilderness. Okay, don't think that you, because you make that you're part of the 1/3, all right, that you safe. Okay, it's not over then. All right, we're gonna have to go and get purged, some of us, for 40 years. We're going back to that again. All right, so that's why I always say, you know, the wilderness concerns me, because the judgments are going to be different. And here's the other thing: from a leadership and passing the judgment, the person passing the judgment, your blood is on our hands, literally at that time, and even now. Don't get me wrong. That's why we're very careful. That's why we counsel here in IUIC with the rest of the leadership before we pass judgment, because we want to make sure we pass in the right judgment. Okay. And at that time, we pass the wrong judgment. Now, you know what? That's between us and the Most High, man. He'll take care of us when that day comes. But in that day, man, it's going to be, you ain't coming back. You're not going to be watching online out in the wilderness. Judgment's passed. That's worthy of death. That's what's going to happen according to the scriptures. All right. So that's why he said he's going to purge out the rebels. There's still going to be rebels amongst us. All right. So in light of everything going on, we see that the time is short. I would definitely, absolutely, in the last days, but it's also a wonderful time to be an Israelite. For those that are about this, that have faith and believe, number one, that they're an Israelite. Number two, that the 12 tribes of Israel consist of the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and that you understand that we must follow the law, statutes, and commandments. All right. So I digress. Let's get back into the topic. All right, so we're going to start again. The topic of the book, anybody coming in, we're going to cover just a page and a half, just the prologue. All right, this is the book. You see, it's all beat up. I got this book, fortunately, for $5 online, but I've seen this for as much as 1,000. Of course, every time we go ahead and bring it out, they raise the price. They're like, oh, time to raise it up. They're learning too much truth. All right. So I'm going to read the prologue. We're going to be going cross-referencing with the scriptures. So it starts off by saying there is an old Latin American legend about a foreign tyrant who tried to bury the truth. This tyrant used arms to conquer another nation. He enslaved the people and forced them to work for his benefit. All right, so notice the words that it's using there. Right? First of all, foreign tyrant. Okay, we're going to cover that here in the scriptures here shortly. Who tried to bury the truth, right? What's one of the truths that they try to bury? That the true Jews, the Israelites, are the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. That's one of the truths that they tried to bury. And one of the devices that they used to try to bury that is they put the Caucasians, the Edomites, in our land in Jerusalem back in 1948. All right? So let's go ahead and go to Deuteronomy 28, 49, and 50 we're going to read, and we're going to jump to 41. Like I said, we may go a little over, so bear with me, but a lot of information I want to go over here, okay? And I don't have another reader, so you got to give me a chance to get the scriptures and everything. All right. So we're going to Deuteronomy 28. Y'all know a lot of y'all came in this truth just based on this alone, the majority. All right. So we're going to 28, 49. Not losing the thought of what I just read in the book. Deuteronomy 28 and 49. It says, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far. From far. So when you look at the where the Northern Kingdom tribes dwell. All right, and we know Spain. This is in this case we're talking about Spain because for those of you that don't know, that still may be possibly new, okay, and still trying to figure out and maybe still have a little doubt. You know, you see a light skinned brother teaching, you see some light skinned brothers teaching. You know, um, you may still have some type of doubt. Okay, which is another reason why I wanted to bring this class out as well. These last days, we can't be having no doubt on who's who. You don't want to get judged just based on that, you know, because you're biased on who the 12 tribes are. You don't want to do that. All right, so that's why I'm here to edify you and give you more knowledge and history. All right, so it says, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far. So when you look at Spain, and I'm talking about Spain because unbeknownst to some brothers and sisters that are Israelites, actually the Northern Kingdom went into slavery first. Okay, in 1492. And I'm talking about here in modern time. All right, we went into slavery first when Christopher Columbus, sanctioned by the Spaniards, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella, okay, they funded the trip, and of course Amalek, the fake Jews, all right, they insured the ships and everything. I mean, that's a topic for another day. I mean, we'll be here I could be here 5 hours with y'all explaining all the details on that. All right, but they all had their hand. They were all Confederate. They came first to the island of what we know today as Dominican Republic, but the Hebrew name, all right, was Quisqueya. Quisqueya starts with a Q. Okay, and Quisqueya actually means, in Spanish, is Tierra de Oro, land of gold. Land of gold. Cuba, another Hebrew word, okay, means fertile land. Puerto Rico, Borinquen, okay? It means land of the brave. Land of the brave. Okay? And Boricua itself means brave. These were all Hebrew names that we gave to those lands that I just mentioned. All right? So it says, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far. Spain was far. Spain was very far from where we were dwelling from 538, 539 BC approximately, after we got our liberty from the Persian King Cyrus. Okay, and we decided, you know, Second Ezra 13. We're gonna cover that here, if I'm not mistaken. I think I have it in my notes. All right, but according to Second Ezra's, yep, we are gonna cover it. I have it in my notes here. Second Ezra 13. That explains how the Northern Kingdom tribes came to this part of the hemisphere. Okay, what we know is the Western Hemisphere that consists of America, North America, Central America, South America, and the Caribbean islands. All right. It says, the Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as an eagle, as the eagle flieth. Spaniards are Edomites. All right. And as it is in their spirit, just like it is in America, their symbol has always been the eagle. All right. You look at our camp posters. You can go on originalroyalty.com, and I believe that you'll be able to see the image clear enough where you can see that it shows that every Edomite nation that ruled over us, their symbol was the eagle. Okay, and we know today in America, Babylon the Great that the Bible calls, our symbol is what here? The symbol here is America. So the Spaniards had the same symbol. All right. So it says, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. So yeah, I speak Spanish. I'm bilingual. Okay, maybe some of y'all watching speak Spanish as well, but that is not our native language. That is our slave language. Just like American is Southern Kingdom slave language. We didn't speak that. We spoke Hebrew. I'm going to prove that here in the book Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. Okay? Because in here it states, in this book it states that Columbus came with Hebrew interpreters. Why would you come if you were trying to find spices and all types of stuff to this part of the land, which they say he accidentally landed here? That's BS. All right, that's BS. Just look at the movie. I think it's still free on YouTube. 1492, The Conquest of Paradise. It's like in the first 6 minutes of the movie. All right, it explains what his real mission was. Columbus, that is. So make no mistake about it. We speak Spanish because our captors, our slave masters, okay, just like with the Southern Kingdom, that's the language that they taught us. Okay, and then just like the Southern Kingdom, they branded us as our masters, as our owners, giving us last names like Gonzalez, Sanchez, Figueroa, Cortez, Jimenez. Those are all slave names. All our slave names. And some of you Northern Kingdom that are here now, because a lot of you Northern Kingdom, man, y'all think you're Caucasian. Okay? Y'all think you're Caucasian, man. And when we try to bring this truth out to you, y'all reject it. Because you light skin and what the world calls good hair, which we know good hair, according to the scriptures, is what the Most High God in Christ has and what Southern Kingdom has. Woolly hair. That's the hair that the Most High God has and our Lord and Savior Christ, the Black Messiah, that's the good hair. All right, so y'all need to stop that. Y'all got it twisted. Don't. Hopefully this class will edify you. All right, but Southern Kingdom, y'all not gonna be left behind out of this conversation either, because some of y'all don't accept the Northern Kingdom, your Hispanic and Native American brothers and sisters, because we too light. Bishop goes over that, the brown paper bag test that used to be done in the old schools. All right? But since I'm on that topic, I'm going to show you that the scripture talks about that. All right? That we're going to come in all different shades and colors. All right? And this is why Christ said, judge not by appearance, but by righteous acts. I don't know if y'all can see it, if I can make any justice at it. But if you look at the pictures here, right? You have light skin, dark skin, brown skin, right? People of color, when they mention, when they speak about people of color, they're talking about, okay, blacks and Hispanics, all right? You have some with thick hair, some with straight hair, some with in between hair, right? A little woolly hair, okay? You got the young sister all the way in the back over here, okay? So I'm going to prove to you that we come in all different shapes, all different colors. All right, let's go to Jeremiah 12 and 9. Okay, Jeremiah 12 and 9. It says, mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. So what's important about that? Remember, the Bible is written in similitudes. All right, it's designed that way because people learn better that way, number one. All right, but it's painting the picture. Some of y'all right now, you're on here. I don't want y'all to get too distracted, but just Google speckled bird. And what you're going to see that it's the same species. Speckled bird is the same species, but it comes in different colors, different arrangement, different feathers, different colors. All right, that's why the Most High used that speckled bird. He says, "My heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. Come ye, assemble all the beasts of the field. Come to devour." But the main point is, mine heritage is unto me as a speckled bird. He's describing to you that we're going to come in all different colors, from real light skin to real dark skin. Understand something, that we've been mixing with the other nations since the Assyrian captivity, which was in 722 BC. All right, so that's almost, if I do the math correctly, that's almost 3,000 years that we've been mixing with the other nations. Right? And I'm smiling because I know some of you are probably saying, all right, okay, that's true. We've been mixing with the other nations, all right? But didn't the conquistadors, didn't the Edomites, just like they did with the Southern Kingdom, lay down with the Israelite sisters? All right? Well, I'm going to cover that. In the scriptures, I'm going to cover that. I'm going to cover that in the scriptures. Hold on to your seat, man. You're going for a ride right now. Okay? So let's go back to Deuteronomy 28 and 49. Deuteronomy 28 and 49. 28 and 49. Okay. So again, let me read the book, what's in the book again in the prologue, so we don't lose the thought. Some of y'all probably lost the thought. It says there is an old Latin American legend about a foreign tyrant who tried to bury the truth. This tyrant used arms to conquer another nation. He enslaved the people and forced them to work for his benefit. Again, that's the words that are used here. And again, remember, this is talking about just the tribe of Ephraim, so-called Puerto Ricans. Deuteronomy 28:49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. When you read Bartolomé de las Casas, a short destruction of the account of the destruction of the Indies, it states in there that what the Spaniards did when they came here, because they knew we didn't speak Spanish, when they came to Puerto Rico, in the Caribbean, okay, they were reading edicts stating that they were proclaiming ownership of our land, and they were reading it in Spanish. It's called the requirement. It's a little tongue twister for me when I try to say it in Spanish. El requerimiento. I always have an issue with saying it. Just look it up. It's in that book, Bartolomé de las Casas. And they felt that justified them. They were like, hey, we told them. It doesn't matter that we told them in a language they don't understand, which is Spanish, but we told them. All right? It mentions that in the book. That we didn't understand the language, and we still went ahead and, under the guise of, oh, well, we told them, so all is fair in love and war. It's fair game. If they didn't understand, that's not our problem. Meanwhile, they were speaking in a tongue, a language that we didn't understand. All right? Verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance. Understand that when the Spaniards came here, when Columbus came here, he came initially with 40 men known as conquistadors. All right? The word conquistador comes from the root word to conquer, conquistar. So they didn't come here with no good intentions. It's documented in the books that I have here, and in many places, that Columbus was a student of the Bible, of the scriptures. And in that book, that movie I told you about, 1492, The Conquest of Paradise, in that one little dialogue that he has with a Jesuit priest, okay, which means crafty ones. Jesuit means Latin. It means crafty ones. Okay. By the way, Fauci's a known Jesuit. Dr. Fauci, the one that's bringing out all this stuff, just so y'all know. Okay. So just store that away and meditate on that. So he explained to them that the book of Esdras, because they asked him basically, well, how could you be so sure? He said the prophet Esdras mentioned that there was civilization, okay, on the Western Hemisphere, basically. All right, so he knew, okay, who he was coming over here to conquer. Again, all part of the curses, all part of the prophecy. All right, because while we came over here, according to 2nd Ezra 13, with good intentions, right, to follow our law, statutes, and commandments, and continue and follow our customs, as it says in 2nd Ezra 13. Over time, remember, that was in 539, approximately 538 BC that we came to this part of land. And you know what? I'm sure we had a good run of following the law, statutes, and commandments. And then, as the scripture says, we have rebellious people among us. And little by little, as the older men and women that understood our true culture started dying off, or maybe they even killed them all, they started bringing in their own doctrines. Okay, and stopped following the law, statutes, and commandments. All right, so it says, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, I just mentioned that, nor show favor to the young. All right. Let's go to John 8:32 real quick. Y'all know this scripture. All right. Because what I'm bringing out here is undeniable truth. And you're going to see by the end of the class. All right. And this one verse said a mouthful. All right, John 8:32. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. All right, I'm bringing out the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and I'm backing it up. Okay, it's coming first and foremost from the scriptures, right? The one true book. And I'm cross-referencing it with other books that white Caucasian scholars, okay, wrote. In fact, there's actually more books written. Listen to what I'm saying clearly. All right, more books written about Northern Kingdom being Israelites than Southern Kingdom. Okay, there's more books written about that. All right, and again, the Most High had to do it that way because He knew, right? When you read Isaiah 46:10, He said, declaring the end from the beginning. He already knows how this movie's going to play out. It's a fixed fight. Okay, we're going through all this stuff now, but don't make no mistake about it. At the end of the day, Lord willing, He has mercy, we're all going to be victorious. Okay, the men are going to get their glory the way it always was supposed to be, and then the women are going to get their glory, because the women are not going to get their glory in the nation of Israel until the men get their glory first. Okay, that's prophecy, that's scriptural. All right, understand that. All right, so you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. This is more freeing of your mind, the information that I'm bringing out now. All right, because now, hopefully, by the end of this class, you'll get a better understanding. You'll be better edified to know that your brothers and sisters from the Latin and Native American tribes, okay, are truly Israelites and are truly your brothers and sisters. You can't go, trust me, you can't go into the wilderness having doubt. So I'm trying to, all the topics that I've been going over as of late have been regarding getting our minds right and really solidifying and, Lord willing, making our calling and election sure. And if you can't go in there with that vexing spirit, okay, of the Northern Kingdom, and the same thing for Northern Kingdom, with the envying spirit of the Southern Kingdom. Let's go over that real quick. Let's go to Isaiah 11. And this is what we have to stop. And this is my purpose here, Lord willing, today, and anybody watching the replay. This is one of my goals. Isaiah 11:13. The envy, and listen to the words it uses, the envy also of Ephraim shall depart. All right? And the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, meaning the Northern Kingdom shall not envy the Southern Kingdom, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. So we both have that spirit on us. All right, but the prophecy is that that spirit is going to leave us. So if the prophecy is saying that spirit is going to leave us, that means what? We can't go into the kingdom still having doubt or having that, in Judah's case, vexing Northern Kingdom, and in Northern Kingdom's case, having envy, which again is it's a form of hate, secret hate. All right. In fact, knowing this, Esau and the other nations have used that to divide us. Scripture says a house divided cannot stand. So it's hugely important. It's paramount that we understand and accept, thus saith the Lord, who the Northern and Southern Kingdom are. And again, I hope and pray that the information I bring out solidifies that for some of you that may be on the fence. All right. So let's go back to Deuteronomy 28 and 50. I really don't want to have to do a part 2, so I'm going to try to do my best to get through this. So I don't know. The next time I'll teach is not going to be till June. I really don't want y'all to lose the thought. 28 and back at 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of old, nor shall favor the young. All right. Now, let's go to 2nd Ezra 13. We're going to read 40 to 46. All right. Let's see how we got here. How did the so-called Hispanics and Native Americans get to this side of the hemisphere? You can never hear scriptures enough. So those of you that have heard this before, hang in there. You know what? Lord willing, I always get new understanding when I read the same scriptures over and over. So Isaiah chapter 13. Oh, sorry. 2nd Ezra 13, verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanasseh the king of Assyria led away captive, and he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. Nobody dwelt on this part of the hemisphere, what we know as North, Central, and South America and the Caribbean island. Nobody dwelt here until this took place, this prophecy took place. That they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. So like I said, we came with good intentions here. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. Okay, so what were the signs? It was the stars. That's how we navigated back then, through the stars. And who was the leader in that? In Chronicles, it talks about it was the tribe of Issachar, who are the so-called Mexicans. Okay, that was their gift that the Most High gave them. Okay, to navigate the stars. Okay, to understand the stars for navigation. 45. Here's the main point out of all of this. For through that country there was a great way to go. And again, if I had a map, I'll be able to illustrate it better, but just, think about it in your mind as I'm reading it. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Ozareth. So many years ago, I knew that I had to find ways to be able to prove this to not only Northern Kingdom, but to Southern Kingdom, based on the scriptures. So I did extensive research on the word Ozareth. And I came up, and I don't have the handout here. I have it in my other room. But I'm going to go, and hopefully it's still on. If you go to JewishEncyclopedia.com, give me a second here because I'm looking for it. Let's see. Hopefully it's still there. I didn't bring the handout with me, but some of y'all, or not a lot of y'all on here watching this class know where I'm going with this. All right. So when I was doing my extensive research, this was years ago when I first came into Truth, to try to find the word Ozareth so I could print something out and be able to show our brothers and sisters, to prove to them that the Northern Kingdom is Israelites. I was searching for it the way it's written in the scriptures. Okay, the way it's written in the script, the way it's spelled in the scriptures, rather. Arsareth. And I couldn't find anything under that. So I said, you know what? I know letters and stuff and spellings change throughout, thousands of years, throughout generations. I said, let me try it with a Z. All right, instead of an S. So let's see if it's still here, if the devil didn't take it off. All right, because I want to be able to read it here. Okay, it is here. Oh, praises. All right. So it's the first one, Ozareth, if those of you are following along with me. Okay, and I'm going to read it. It says, the name of the land beyond the great river, far away from the habitation of man. Right? From the habitation of man. Remember, a land where never mankind dwelt, in which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell. Will dwell. This is prophecy. Observing the laws of Moses. Didn't they just say that they're going to go to a country where never mankind dwelt so they could keep the laws, statutes, and commandments? Until the time of the restoration. What's that restoration? Ezekiel 37. All right. What's that restoration? Us being put back in our rightful place of rulership. What's that restoration? The heathen, predominantly led by Esau, who the world ignorantly calls the white man or Caucasian. Well, Caucasian is correct because Caucasian means cave dwellers, and that's what they did when we destroyed them after 193 AD. They went to the Caucasus Mountains. All right. You could read that in Job 30. All right, they're the real cavemen. So the restoration also means, again, like I said, us being put back in our rightful place of rulership. According to 4th Esdras, chapter 13, verse 45. 4th Esdras is also 2nd Esdras. All right, because they include the Esdras in the Bible in addition to the Apocrypha. All right, we just read that in 45. You know what? Let me read it again, in case y'all lost the thought. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Ozareth. That's verse 45. Here's the kicker. Columbus identified America with this land. He knew the scriptures. He knew he was coming to destroy us, as it was in the prophecy. I could actually close the class right now. All right? Drop the mic and keep it moving and say shalom. But I want to go deep with this. Okay? Hopefully y'all found it. All right? Okay. Give me 1 second here. Okay. So now let's go back to the book. The tyrant ordered, and I'm not reading everything, it's just highlighted stuff, all right? If y'all could get access to the book and read it, man, I highly recommend it. Because Southern Kingdom, y'all need to know our history just like Northern Kingdom, you need to know Southern Kingdom's history. Okay? And more importantly, Northern Kingdom, you need to know it so that you can go ahead and be able to refute any scoffers. Because, you know, we've had a couple here every time I teach, coming out with some snide comments, but I ignore it. Like I said, I wink at ignorance. They just don't know. They just don't know. But hopefully, if some of those scoffers are still on here, this will open up your spirit to understand and see. But we know, like we read, we still have a lot of rebellious people in Israel. They're not going to accept it, so that's fine. Can't help you, man. Your blood ain't on my hands, man. I'm bringing information out. So it says the tyrant ordered the people to give up the truth. He sent his soldiers into the land to gather the truth. Okay? Some citizens refused to surrender what was rightfully theirs, and they were shot or jailed. Sound familiar, Southern Kingdom? Okay? So now, let's go to scriptures. Deuteronomy 28, 31, 33. All right? Remember, don't lose the meaning here, the thought. Okay? And with Jeremiah 50, 33, Israel and Judah were pressed together. Their captives refused to let them go. 28, 31 to 33. The book of Deuteronomy 28, 31 to 33. 31, 33, yeah. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof. Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee. Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them. 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always. Let's go back to what I just read. The tyrant ordered the people to give up the truth. He sent his soldiers into land to gather the truth. Some citizens refused to surrender what was rightfully theirs, and they were shot or jailed. We just read that. That's prophecy. That's scripture. This isn't a book that has nothing to do with scriptures. Genesis 49, 22 and 23. Genesis 49, 22 and 23. Genesis 49, 22 to 23. Joseph is a fruitful bow. Okay? So that's what Ephraim means. It means I am fruitful. I mean, you have a lot of children. Okay? So-called Puerto Rico known to have a lot of children. Israel in general, but we're known to have a lot of children. Even a fruitful bow by a well. Okay? So fruitful, a bow is a tree. All right? Another name for a tree. So it's saying we're a fruitful boat, even a fruitful boat by a well. Why? Because the island of Puerto Rico is surrounded by water. It's an island. Okay? That's where the similitude of the well comes in. Whose branches run over the wall. Why? Because our daughters, our sisters, okay, what did they do when the Spaniards came? Okay, a lot of them went ahead and lied down with them. All right, they had that love for the other nation. That happens with a lot of northern and southern, but it happens a lot with northern king. We love the other nation. We think we're white. We think we're Caucasians. Okay, I was one before this truth. I didn't know. I was trying to find my true identity, so we thought we came from Spain. Okay, we thought we came from Spain, and you know what? Maybe we did, but not from a biological perspective or genealogical perspective, from a slave perspective. Because I'm going to show you here next in this book that Deuteronomy 28:68, meaning that we were going to be taken in slave ships. Okay, happened to us first and as well, meaning the Northern Kingdom. So let me get into that real quick. This is from the book Black Indians. Okay. The book Black Indians. And all I'm going to read is one section here. Give me 1 second. Thought I had it bookmarked. Okay, here you'll see an illustration of what I've been talking about so far, what the prophecy is. You see the conquistadors, the Spaniards, with a Jesuit priest. It says here that is... Yeah, it says Native American royalty was burned at the stake. He was what they call a cacique. He was a king. All right, you see them burning. That's a modern. That's what you would call lynching. Okay, and they're there. They hung us too. There's plenty of images and historical fact on that as well. Okay, here we go. Those of you who have this book, it's on page 26. And I'm going to read, it says, it began with Columbus. Okay. It says, for the people of the Americas, the arrival of Columbus was hardly a blessing. Contrary to what we were taught in school, right? He was a hero according to what we were taught in school. He discovered America, which he really didn't, right? It was Americo Vespucci. That's why they call it America. But you know what? More lies that they throw in there to confuse you. Again, you had to they had to go the extra mile to try to glorify him, because the truth, okay, is totally different from the way it was painted to us. It says, on his first day, October 12, 1492, the explorer wrote in his diary, I took some of the natives by force. We just read that in the scriptures. A nation from far with a fierce countenance. He later found the original inhabitants to be tractable, peaceable, and concluded there is not in the world a better nation. Why would he say that? Because he knew we were the Israelites. His response as a European was to say that Indians must be made to work and adopt our ways. And Indian is a derogatory term, by the way. The Christopher Columbus, whose unique seamanship and courage had opened the Americas to European penetration, also began the transatlantic slave trade. More proof that we were in slavery first, on ships. He started by shipping 10 chained Arawak men. Arawak was the Byzantine Empire name for the Northern Kingdom. Okay, for predominantly the so-called Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Cubans, who was Simeon, Ephraim, and Manasseh. Also the Mayans, their Byzantine Empire name was the Mayans, and Incas, okay, and the Aztecs. That was the Byzantine Empire names for our people. It says he started by shipping 10 chained Arawak men and women to Seville. Those of you that don't know, Seville, Spain is a rich port. Just like Mecca is a rich port, right? Because the Arabs had us in the trans-Saharan slave trade, had us in captivity as well. All right? Just like New York City, Wall Street is rich port, and that we were the stocks. They were trading us first by selling us off to the slave masters. Again, he started by shipping 10 chained Arawak men and women to Seville, Spain. He wrote enthusiastically to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella about the business possibilities. From here, in the name of the Blessed Trinity, we can send all the slaves that can be sold. These are the words. I hope y'all got the, look. No, I'm not making that up. Look at this. From here, in the name of the Blessed Trinity, we can send all the slaves that can be sold. I thought we were peaceable people, tractable people. No, they came there with the intention to enslave us. When he loaded 1,100 Taino men, Taino is a Hebrew word. It means buena gente. They erroneously call us Tainos. And I say erroneously because Taino was the first word that was uttered out of our mouths when we saw Columbus come with the ships and all that armor and their weapons, right? Remember, we were already at that point into idolatry and stuff like that. So we saw these men coming from the sea in these huge ships that we never seen before, which, by the way, ain't really huge because I've been on a replica of I believe it was the Nina and the Pinta. They had it up in Newburgh, New York, years ago when I got into the truth. And in fact, you could see, I did a documentary on it. You could see, it should be, it may still be on YouTube. Okay, it's titled with something Columbus. I forgot what the title is, but those ships weren't that big. The initial ships were not that big. Okay. So Taino, when we saw them coming, we were like, Taino. You know, and we called them buena gente. We thought they were good people, but they didn't have any good intentions. So little history on the word Taino, for those of you that didn't know. Okay, it means buena gente, good people. Right, to translate it in English. So he says, when he loaded 1,100 Taino men and women, it wasn't just the men and women, aboard 4 Spanish ships. Deuteronomy 28:68. I don't want to lose the thought. Let's get to this now. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt, bondage, right? According to Exodus 20:2, it means bondage, slavery, again with ships. Again with ships. It again. When he loaded 1,100 Taino men and women aboard 4 Spanish ships. Prophecy, man. This Bible is a true book. The crowding and the stormy Atlantic crossing took a fearful toll. Only 300 survived out of the 1,100 men and women. Only 300 survived. It's just like the transatlantic slave trade. Okay, a lot of our brothers and sisters, they didn't make it. That journey was treacherous. And just like our Southern Kingdom brothers and sisters, we were thrown over the ships too. We were there. We died on the ship. They threw us over. There's accounts that say that you could see that they saw the sharks would surround the ships of all the bodies that were thrown over, feasting on our bodies. Only 300 survived. But Columbus and Spain had decided to continue the profitable slave trade from the Americas. It was a business for them. We were commodities for them. We were a product. We weren't people. Seville became the slave capital of Spain. That's how Seville became so rich and wealthy, man. Spanish priest, godly people, right? Were the first to denounce the horrors of bondage. But don't be fooled by that. They were on board with it. I showed you they were on board with it. I showed you the picture of the priest, right, who denounced it, supposedly, right, with the cross, with our brother, the cacique, the king, being ready to be burned. And he was there with that cross, giving him an option. We won't burn you if you accept Christianity, if you accept a Caucasian Christ, is what they were saying. And he refused and burned. Many of our brothers and sisters refused and burned. So they didn't denounce it. That's all fabrication. Spanish priests were the first to denounce the horrors of bondage. Notice the word they used, bondage, right? In 1511, Dominican friar, all right, so remember 1492, 1511, this was still going on. Dominican friar Montesinos called slavery, look at the word, slavery, a mortal sin, and said cruelty and tyranny over Indians could not be justified by Christians. Oh yeah, y'all were Christians. A few years later, Bishop Las Casas, who's Bartolomé de Las Casas, who wrote the short account of the destruction of the Indies that I mentioned to you, where it talks about how they gave them orders in Spanish, knowing that we didn't understand the language, who had witnessed countless Indian massacres by his fellow Spaniards, blamed greed for the horrors. He said, and I quote, they kill them, Indians, because they want to be rich and have much gold, which is their sole aim. Las Casas concluded, in the New World, Spaniards had become devils and Indians were the only true Christians. Basically what they're saying is we knew that we were Esau, the devil the Bible speaks of, and that the people we were killing were the Israelites. Las Casas led a determined effort to halt Indian bondage. He pointed out that Indians died off by the thousands from slavery, and get this, and European diseases, COVID-19. And that time it was smallpox. It doesn't stop, brothers and sisters. These curses are going to follow us, like it says in the scriptures, till Christ returns or we die. And we live in that right now. We read it again. Las Casas led a determined effort to halt Indian bondage. He pointed out that, and don't be fooled by that, right? Because we got Edomites that they stood with the Black Panthers, the Brown Beret. They got a Black Lives Matter. It's all a mockery, man. It's all a scam. All right, don't be fooled by that. All right, Scripture says in Habakkuk, their spirit, not some, their spirit in general is not upright in them. And you know what the proof of that is? When you read Isaiah 13, it says, in that day, every man is going to go back to their own kind. I'm paraphrasing, but you know what I'm talking about. He pointed out that Indians died off by the thousands from slavery and European diseases. Forced labor in Spanish mines in the Americas was so harsh that the average worker died before he was 26. And you go to Wall Street, there's burial grounds, and they found bones of 4-year-olds with their bones, their body structure, their skeletal system was all out of whack. Because they even have 4-year-olds, man, carrying heavy things in bondage. These guys are devils, man. They're gonna get theirs, man. Check this out. Next. Check this out. I'm reading right here next. To meet their need for laborers, Europeans looked next to Africa. Oh, man. And guess what? For those of you that are thinking that, okay, so you see, so those weren't Israelites, right? The Africans came in, those ones, because that's some of the doctrine out there too. You can't be in it. All right, so they'll accept Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans, but you got to be blacker than Wesley Snipes, right? And you got to have woolly hair. Okay, and I'm going to show you that that's all BS. All right, guess what? The prophecy of who is Ephraim, who is Simeon, who is Manasseh, who is Asher, who is Naphtali, who is Issachar, could not, who is Gad, who is Reuben, could not be fulfilled unless the right people from Africa ended up in the right lands of the Caribbean and Central and South America. Meditate on that. If you get it, you get it. Like Bishop says. If you don't, I ain't got time to break that down right now. I think it's pretty obvious where I'm going with that. Everybody had to go to where they were supposed to go. Remember, some Northern Kingdom stayed behind. Not all Northern Kingdom came during 2nd Ezra 13. You know how you know that? Because when Christ spoke to the woman at the well, she was a Samaritan from Samaria. She said, our father Jacob. Samaria was where Ephraim lived predominantly, the Northern Kingdom. Know your history, brothers and sisters. You can't refute the scriptures. So it says, Europeans looked next to Africa. The strongest sons and daughters of Africa were seized in their homes. Kind of interesting because according to HR 6666, look it up. Supposedly, HR means that it's something that's already put into signed by the government. HRs. Okay, they're going to be allowed, and I believe they're starting in Ventura, California. Okay, this is the information. I'm just passing on information that I heard. I'm not saying it's true or not. Okay, I'm not saying it's true or not. And they're going to be allowed to take you out of your house. And I heard some crazy thing last night. If you have more people in your house than you have bathrooms, this is the craziness that I heard. They're going to use that and say, oh, well, we got to take you out for safety reasons, health reasons. Just, again, I'm just reporting. You look it up. I'm just reporting what's out there because that came to my mind right now as I read this. Strongest sons and daughters of Africa were seized in their homes. According to this HR regulation, that's what they're going to be able to do. Or fields or purchased from local traders. Those local traders were the Africans, the real Africans that they purchased them from, and some Arabs. Because yes, they sold us into slavery too. They had us in captivity as well. They were packed into cargo ships and shipped across the Atlantic. So they took us from the Eastern Hemisphere, North, Central, and South America, predominantly at this time was the Caribbean islands, and took us to Spain. And then they took Southern Kingdom and brought us here to replenish all those that had died. Most High says in Corinthians, he's not the author of confusion. If he said that we read in 2nd Ezra 13 that the 10 tribes were going to dwell, okay, here and this side of the earth, that's what he means. And one way or the other, and that they were going to lead, Ephraim was going to lead the Northern Kingdom to the ends of the earth. Guess what? That's what it means. He said we were going to go into captivity on ships. Yes, we all did, Northern and Southern. They were packed into cargo ships and shipped across the Atlantic. Check this out. Thomas Brannigan, a Dublin youth, Dublin's in Ireland, an Edomite, who for many years served as a seaman aboard slave ships, described the boarding scene. This is what he described that he saw. Children are torn from their distracted parents. We just read that. Deuteronomy 28:32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people. Parents from their screaming children, wives from their frantic husbands, husbands from their violated wives. That's what Lamentation says. We are orphans. Why? Because they took off our parents. Husbands from their violated wives. Notice what it says. Violated wives means they ravished them. They raped them. Brothers from their loving sisters. Sisters from their affectionate brothers. See them collected in flocks. Look at the words he's using. Like we're cattle. and like a herd of swine driven to the ships. They cry, they struggle, they resist, but all in vain. Oh, man. Deuteronomy 28:32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and forward longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. That's the vain. They cry, they struggle, they resist, but all in vain. We had no might in our hands. No eye pities, no hand helps. Again, I could stop the class right now, but I'm not. Now at last, the truth is buried forever, he said. Brushing the soil from his robes, he was pleased with himself. Remember, this is the tyrant. This is the Spaniards. On the journey back to the castle, he planned new wars of conquest. They never had good intentions coming over here. The Spaniards led by Columbus. From a distance, he could see that on the exact spot, he had buried the truth. That's Psalms 83, thy hidden ones. They thought that they hid us and that we were never going to come back and claim our rightful place of rulership, our true culture, our true nationality. They thought they hid it. But the Most High God had other plans. Isaiah 46:10, declaring the end from the beginning. Matter of fact, let's get that, because I quoted that a couple of times. Isaiah 46:10. They try to hide it, the fact that we're the true Israelites, that we're the true Jews, blacks, Hispanic, Native Americans. The Most High God said, nope. That ain't happening. I'm the Lord, the creator of heaven and earth. 46:10. Declaring the end from the beginning. It's a fixed fight. He already knew what the outcome was going to be. And from ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel, his counsel is the Bible, shall stand, and I will do all my pleasures. Everything he said in the Bible. It says in Revelations, he that goes into captivity shall go into captivity. It said Babylon the Great, America is going to be destroyed by thermonuclear destruction. It said that we, an exceeding great army, will rise again and rule the earth and the universe. That's going to happen, thus saith the Lord. So they can hide it, try to hide all they want. Guess what? They're telling on themselves. It's coming out. All praises for social media and the internet. He declared he knew that was coming too. The Most High God. You don't know the power that we serve, some of y'all, man. Back to the book. From a distance, he could see that on the exact spot where he had buried the truth, there was a strong and beautiful tree. I went over that in the scriptures. Ephraim is a fruitful bow. Remember, this is Puerto Rico. Just Puerto Rico we talk about that when they got conquered. It uses the word tree in here as a similitude. The scripture uses that too, a fruitful bow. A bow is a tree, B-O-U-G-H. Moreover, there was a crowd of peasants with machetes, shovels, and hoes. The tyrant's heart pounded against his chest. He was afraid, just like they're afraid now. That's why they tweaked that virus higher. Because we weren't getting killed, as you've heard it brought out in the broadcast that we've been teaching from the other leaders. And now they said, no, it's time. We got to raise it up. And the next wave is going to be even stronger. But it don't matter. It don't matter, brothers and sisters, if we get bit by that. Because the dead in Christ shall rise first. So you stay strong. You stay firm. That's why this class is so important too. You could not be hot or cold. Christ said he would spew you out. You have to believe and understand who your brothers and sisters are, who the 12 tribes of Israel are. How could Revelation 7 As we already know, Isaiah 46 said, his counsel will stand. How could Revelation 7 come true if we don't know who the 12 tribes are? How could 12,000 from each tribe be sealed if we don't know who they are? How could it only be dark-skinned people with woolly hair? Are you kidding me? You know how long it's going to take for that prophecy to come? And you see we're ready the last days. Again, I'm not saying it's going to come next week, next year, 5 years from now. We don't know. Matthew 24:36, Christ said, only the one that knows is his Father. But I could tell you, I know it's doggone pretty damn near, however long that is. Pretty damn near, it could be 20 years. But we know it's right around the corner, so to speak. So to speak. I don't want to hear people say, oh, Captain Apario said he's coming up with timeline. No, I'm not. But just look at the signs. We don't know, and that would be blasphemy. But just look at the signs, everything that we're going through now. You got some simple brothers and sisters that come out with that craziness. No, I'm not saying that. It says he was afraid. That's why they're ramping everything up. They're afraid. They know their time is short. That's Revelation 12:17, right there. The devil was wroth with the woman. Even as he walked toward the tree, it grew taller and taller. The peasants raised their tools and let out a cry. The tyrant could see that the roots of the tree went deep into the rich earth. You know why it says the roots went deep? All right? Because they knew our history. Yeah, it went deep. Our history didn't start with slavery. Northern Kingdom's history didn't start in 1492. That's all we knew before this truth. That's all I knew. But I always had the question. I was always curious enough. It was always in my spirit. How did we get here in the first place? Don't make any sense. And guess what? Southern Kingdom's history starts in 1619, according to his story. Esau's story. But we go our roots go way back. Back to the Adam. Not the Adam, the other people in Genesis. The Adam. Adam and Eve, Adam. Back to Shem. One of the 8 that survived the flood. That through them, those 3 men, Shem, Japheth, and Ham, the 18 nations that are walking the earth today, not this confusion that they got that Poland, Russian, German, all that craziness. No, there's 18 nations and that's it according to the scriptures. And they came from those 3 men, Shem, Japheth, and Ham. How dare you call us anti-Semites or Shemites, which is the proper term. We're almost done. Like I said, we may go a little over. I'm leaving a lot out. There's a lot that I'm leaving out, but I want to be respectful of your time as well. The peasants raised their tools and let out a cry. The tyrant could see that the roots of the tree went deep into the rich earth. This is all similitude here. The trunk of the tree was too wide to put his arms around. Because we're innumerable, man. Too wide to put their arms around. We're too strong. We're made in the Most High's image. There's too many of us. They could not hide us and bury us like they wanted to. Hosea 1:10 says we're like the sand of the sea. And its branches were long and powerful. There were millions of budding branches, each one distinct, and yet they were one and the same. That's Jeremiah 12:9. Let me read that again. There were millions of budding branches, each one distinct, and yet they were one and the same. Each one distinct, and yet they were one and the same. Each one distinct, yet they were one and the same. For hundreds of years, foreign tyrants have dominated Puerto Rico. They have used every means possible to try to bury the truth about Puerto Rico. These are their words, man. What's that truth? That we're the tribe of Ephraim. The so-called 10 lost tribe, one of the so-called 10 lost tribes. They have used every means possible to try to bury the truth about Puerto Rico. They have tried to bury the truth that Puerto Rico was and still is today an oppressed nation. This book was written in 1977. Guess what? In 2020, we saw that with Hurricane Maria, that we're an oppressed nation. They treated us like garbage. Trump didn't even know that we were part of the United States. Puerto Rico, that is. Shooting Jays with paper towel at us instead of giving it to us as humans. A colony, a land imprisoned by foreign tyrants. From the late 15th to the late 19th century, Puerto Rico was a colony of the Spanish Empire. The land, labor, and resources were controlled by Spain. Deuteronomy 28:31-34. They took our ox, our cattle, our oxen. They're living deliciously off of Puerto Rico. Which means rich port. It ain't a rich port anymore. It's destroyed. We went there a couple of years back to teach our brothers and sisters. We have a camp out there. IUIC Puerto Rico. And I was amazed at what I saw. How it looked destroyed. Why was it destroyed? Because the invaders, the tyrants, the foreigners, Esau has destroyed. And they started that also, not only back then here, what we're reading here, hundreds of thousands of years ago. Okay? But with the Jones Act in modern time, look up Jones Act. How that destroyed Puerto Rico. Since 1898, Puerto Rico has been a direct colony of the U.S. Since 1898, but Trump didn't know that. U.S. corporations have exploited, look at the words that it's using, have exploited the wealth of the island and the labor of the Puerto Rican people. Let's go to Lamentations 5. We're going to read 1 through 4. Lamentations 5, verse 1. Remember, O Lord, what has come upon us. Consider and behold our reproach. Our inheritance is turned to strangers. We just read that. Our houses to aliens. We just read that. And then they had the nerve to call us aliens. Our so-called Mexican brothers from the tribe of Issachar. There's a documentary, you may still be able to get it on YouTube for free, called Into the West. And at the first episode, it shows the map of America, how Mexico went all the way up to Wyoming and all the way to California, all the way down to where it is today. And every episode, little by little, as the Europeans came here, the colonizers, right? Like the sister mentioned in Black Panther, colonizers, right? Wasn't in there for no reason. Little by little, Mexico started getting smaller and smaller until it got to where it's at today. They went by manifest destiny, that it was their destiny to conquer us, our Native American brothers and sisters, and then write a constitution based on themselves, on their liberties, because we're denizens according to the Constitution. We're not sitting. We're denizens. Look at the Dred Scott Act. Look that up. Look at that case. Dred Scott, D-R-E-D-D Scott. Look at that case. That tells you if we're citizens or not. Lamentations 5, 1 through 4. We read, let's go back to 2. Our inheritance is turned to strangers, our houses to aliens. Verse 3, we are orphans and fatherless. We just read that. We're orphans and fatherless. I quoted this when we were reading here, how they took the parents from us. Our parents, they took them away from us. They took us away from our parents. They killed them. We were left orphans and fatherless. Our mothers as widows. Why? Because they killed up the men. We have drunken our water for money. They colonized, took all our resources, and then they sell it back to us. Our God-given right, our inheritance. Our wood is sold unto us. Our necks are under persecution. We labor and have no rest. Just when we think things get easy, coronavirus. Just when we think things get easy, they shoot our brother in Georgia. Ahmaud Arbery. Shot. I'll tell you, that video, man, that thing, whatever. Y'all watch it if you can. Lamentations 5:16. The crown is fallen from our head. Woe unto us that we have sinned. At the end of the day, like I said at the opening of this class, we cannot forget the reasons why this is happening to us. We refuse to follow the law, statutes, and commandments. So the Most High said, these are the curses that are going to come upon you. I've gone over this before on the Daily Bread in the previous classes. Deuteronomy 1-14, it's simple. There's only 14 verses that if we followed, we were good. But if we didn't follow and we continue to be rebellious, we had 15-68. Almost three times as much. I'm a little off on the math. Was going to happen to us if we didn't obey. Simple things like keeping the Sabbath. You're supposed to keep that with joy and gladness. How about simple things, right? Like keeping your wee-wee in your pants and your sisters keeping your legs closed, committing fornication and adultery. Simple. Meditate and focus on these scriptures day and night. Joshua 1:8 says, and you'll have good success. But y'all doing all those sins, and it boggles my mind that even now, in these last days with everything going on, we still have brothers and sisters still committing sin and having to be put out the body. It boggles my mind. But you know what? It boggled Christ's mind too. He said he marveled. I marvel too. You have the most wonderful information. You have been told that you are the best. You are God's chosen. You're joint heirs with Christ. And yet we still go off. But I digress. Let me finish this up here. The story of Puerto Rico is a story of struggle, change, and upheaval. It is a story of an unbroken drive for freedom. A drive for freedom because we're not free. We're not. Not in this captivity, we're not. The Puerto Rican people have resisted foreign domination from the 15th century until today. This is just the Puerto Rican people. Look what's going on in Venezuela. How the hell you're going to say, you're a whole different country, you're going to say that the president that's there now is not valid? Who the hell are you? Babylon the Great? And you're going to appoint some other dude. I don't give a damn if he's our people. Who the hell are you? That's why the Revelation says she's the whore that sits on many waters, but she can't keep to herself. She can't help herself. Well, we know that's prophecy too. According to Genesis 27, the dew of the heaven and the fatness of the land. They're going to be everywhere. But they're going to take it by force. That's how they roll this. That's the way they were made since the spirit of Cain up until now. That's their thing. Remember, Cain's son, one of his lineage was Tubal Cain, and he was the creator of weapons. It's in their spirit from then. You read that in Genesis. This Bible, from Genesis to Revelation, breaks down to the battle between good and evil, Jacob and Esau, black and white. That's what this whole Bible's about, from Genesis to Revelation. But all praises to the Most High God. The wonderful thing is that the gospel, the good news is that Christ, the black Messiah, is going to redeem us and put us back in our rightful place of rulership, those who aren't rebellious. But that's what the Bible, in a nutshell, that's all it is. From the beginning to the end, we've been battling with the heathen. And it's been because of our sins. That the Puerto Rican people have resisted foreign domination from the 15th century until today. The tree of the Puerto Rican nation, the tree of life and liberty, the tree of liberation proclaims the truth. The people have been enslaved. The people will be free. You doggone right we're going to be free. I got so much more. I tell you, this is like a 4 or 5 hour class, man. I want to show y'all this picture. See, I got a little note there, Hosea 7 and 8. Different shades, from light to dark. Tribe of Ephraim. Says we're a cake unturned in Hosea 7 and 8. I said I was going to cry. I just want to this book. I prove all things. I said that he came with Hebrew translators. I got so much stuff in here too. Give me a second. Bear with me. Give me 1 second, brothers and sisters. I want to try to find this video. Hey, those of you that have the book, you remember what page it was on? About the Hebrew translators? See if anybody could post it here. Yeah, I'm sorry, Captain. I know the book prices are gonna go up, but what are you gonna do, man? He's right about that. See if y'all remember. If somebody could post a page. I know I'm right next to it, man. I thought I had it bookmarked here. Captain, yeah, help a brother out, man. Where's that? What page is that? I want to finish off with this. Bug me if I can't get that to you, brothers and sisters. I have every page bookmarked there. It must have fallen out. I have everything bookmarked there. Oh, here we go. Ah, oh, praises. So for those of you that have the book, it's chapter 8. It's titled Columbus's Golden World, and it's on page 92. It says, we do not know much concerning Columbus's crew of about 90 men aboard the 3 ships, talking about the Nina, Pinta, and Santa Maria. But at least one of them was an Israelite whose presence as such was not merely accidental. This was Luis de Torres, a convert of possibly only that year, who had held a position with the governor of Murcia. He was said to have known Hebrew, Aramaic, and some Arabic, and had been brought along by Columbus specifically as an interpreter. Why are you bringing somebody that speaks Hebrew to this part of that, to the islands, if you didn't know that the people you were going to face and conquer were the Israelites? I got to believe that back then they had to pay this guy, right? Interpreters get paid, especially interpreters in the UN. They get paid pretty good money just to interpret. So it was an important position. All right, 6:37. I didn't even finish everything, but we do have a certain time limit. I want to be respectful of that. But I will say, any quick questions? I know, Sister T. Shalom. Most High Christ bless, but we are told to only stay a certain amount of time. There's a lot of comments here. I don't know if I can get to them. Find the authors of the books. It's several books. All right, so I can give you that. So I'll put it here, Sister Levette. Ronald Sanders is the author of this book. Man, there's gems in here, man. I got these all the highlighted stuff. Y'all can see it. See my little stickies. This one here, The Flame of, and the author is the People's Press. I got the binding's not that good. It's I got to be very careful with these pages. I don't lend my books out for that reason. People's Press. Let me give you the ISBN number. Maybe y'all can see it. I don't know if I can see it. Interesting. It says the Library of Congress cataloging. You go to the Library of Congress, and you can even access them online. LibraryofCongress.gov, I think it is. Look it up. This is where you're going to find all these books and all information on our history. They have it hidden there. Or you can go to the actual Library of Congress. I believe that's in D.C. Y'all want the ISBN number? It's 0-914-750-05-4. Again, 0-914-750-05-4. Somebody wants to put that in the comments. That's great as well. Black Indians. William Loren Katz. I mean, there's so many doggone books, man. It's crazy. You know what? I do want to go over this real quick. So you should still be able to find this online. Y'all can see that 8 atrocities committed against Puerto Rico by the U.S. by Esau. 8 atrocities. I'm gonna try to go over them pretty quick. I'll probably just try to take out some points of it. So number 8 is La Operación. The Operation. La Operación is a documentary that highlights the female sterilization policy. So yes, like the Tuskegee experiment, like all the other things like we saw yesterday on Bishop's class, the clip, they went to Africa to try to destroy and kill our brothers and sisters over there that are Israel. Same thing happened to the Northern Kingdom tribes. How about the Trail of Tears? That's an atrocity in and of itself to our Gadite brothers and sisters. La Operación is a documentary that highlights the female sterilization policy. This policy was implanted by the United States as part of FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, president, Operation Bootstrap, in a move towards industrialization. By 1974, 35% of the Puerto Rican women were sterile, and this number reached 39% by 1981. I can only imagine now what it is by now. Just like the Egyptians did, man. Kill the firstborn. It's the same thing. Planned Parenthood, that's a form of sterilization. Because some women that have too many abortions, they can never have kids again. Because they're so jacked up in their womb as a result of the abortions. I read a statistic years ago that more children were killed by blacks and Hispanics in a month than the lives that were lost in Vietnam. You know how many lives were lost in Vietnam? 59,000. Our sisters killed 50, and our brothers too, right? Because you know some of them were complicit too. I don't want that kid. But you'd have had no problem when you were having your fun, right? Making that child. In 1 month, 59,000 abortions. The problem with this sterilization policy is that most of the Puerto Rican women were misinformed about the sterilization process. That's the only problem. It's a problem, period. You sterilizing women. You got no right to do that. And most of the women didn't know what the consequences would be. Vieques. Vieques is an island. This is number 7, the seventh atrocity. Is an island municipality of Puerto Rico located in the northeastern Caribbean. It is also known as La Isla Nena. Vieques has a total area of 134.4 square miles and is inhabited by more than 9,000 Viequenese, okay, which is Ephraimites. From 1941 to May 1st, 2003, the United States Navy used Vieques for naval training and testing. From 1941 to 1942, the U.S. Navy appropriated 22,000 of Vieques, 33,000 acres. By 1963, the Navy owned 22,600 acres of Vieques, almost 70% of the island. In 1948, they commenced bombing exercises, which continued for 55 years. Over the course of their stay, more than 22 million pounds of military and industrial waste was deposited on the island. The island was bombarded an average of 180 days per year, and in 1998, the Navy dropped 23,000 bombs on the island. Professor Jose Signot Barbosa, director of the Geography Department in the University of Puerto Rico at Rio Piedras, states in his study, Vieques, the ecology of an island under siege, that the eastern tip of the island constitutes an area with more craters per kilometer than the moon. I want to digress a second. Y'all know, the video's up, the documentary that we did when we went to Puerto Rico. We sat down with a Ephraimite who is an anthropologist. The video should still be up. And he uncovered, excavated, okay, artifacts, okay, that when you look at it closely, they look like Israelites, right? They had the garb and everything, okay. So there's artifacts there too, and they, I mean, he goes on in the documentary. Just watch the documentary. He goes on in detail how they try to hide all of that. As a result of all of this, the cancer rate in Vieques, as a result of those bombings, the cancer rate in Vieques is 27% higher than in the mainland. Most of the elements and toxic compounds dumped in the island were arsenic, lead, mercury, cadmium, depleted uranium, and napalm. Studies show that the groundwater in Vieques is contaminated by nitrates and explosives. Testing done in Lacau's Bay showed concentrations of cadmium in crabs. Not that it's lawful to eat anyway, but they eat it, now they get contaminated with the food. 1,000 times greater than the World Health Organization. We've been hearing them a lot lately. Tolerable ingestion maximum dosage. Heavy metals have been found in other species of fish. Boy, if we ain't oppressed together, I don't know who was. 6, radiation experiments. Dr. Pedro Albizu Campos was a prominent leader in the independence movement of Puerto Rico. Albizu was imprisoned numerous times for seditious conspiracy against the United States. All he tried to do was free our people's minds, man, to free our people and get America the hell out of the land, but to no avail. While in prison, Albizu said he was a subject of human experimentation without consent or warning. The U.S. government's response was that Albizu was insane. Of course, that's convenient. The president of the Cuban Cancer Association, Dr. Orlando Damuy, traveled to Puerto Rico to examine Albizu. Dr. Damuy reported burns on Albizu's body caused by intense radiation. It is said that they placed a metal clip and film on Albizu's skin, and the clip radiated into the film. Albizu died in 1965, and more than 75,000 Puerto Ricans carried his remains to the Old San Juan Cemetery. In 1994, under the administration of President Bill Clinton, the United States Department of Energy disclosed that human radiation experiments had been conducted without consent on prisoners in Puerto Rico during the 1950s and the 70s. Yet we'll still have scoffers that say we're not God's chosen. We're not Israelites. Freaking amazing. Same thing that Southern Kingdom went through. This one really burns my skin. Number 5, Dr. Cornelius Rhodes. He was even on Time Life. It's the bottom one. Dr. Cornelius Rhodes, an Edomite, in case you didn't notice, was an American doctor and pathologist that became infamous for performing several objectionable experiments with human beings. Their spirit ain't upright in them, boy, the scripture says. In 1931, sponsored by the Rockefeller Institute, Rhodes deliberately infected several Puerto Rican citizens with cancer cells. Isn't that what they're doing now with this corona? Oh, I mentioned corona, so this video is going to get taken off probably. I'm mentioning facts. Supposedly, 13 of the patients died. Dr. Rhodes once said in a written document, this is what the demon doctor said in a written document, the Puerto Ricans are the dirtiest, laziest, most degenerate, and thievish race. No. He said African Americans there, right? Read that. This is what came out of this Edomite's mouth. The people who some people scoff and say they're not Israel. If this ain't Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68, I don't know what is. The Puerto Ricans are the dirtiest, laziest, most degenerate, and thievish race of men ever to inhabit this sphere. I have done my best to further the process of extermination by killing off 8 and transplanting cancer into several more. Is it far-fetched if they were doing this back then in 1931 with cancer, giving us cancer, like they did with the Tuskegee experiment, giving them syphilis? Is it far-fetched with the technology that we have today that this thing that's going around now isn't to destroy us as a people? All physicians take delight in the abuse and torture. I'm not making this up. All physicians take, this is his quote. All physicians take delight in the abuse and torture of the unfortunate subjects. An investigation done in 2003, not too long ago, by biocyst Dr. J. Katz, found that the accusations were well-founded and documented. Then you have the Ponce massacres. For time's sake, I'm not going to go. That's number 4. Oh, I got to go over this one. Number 3, the pill. The pill. Yeah, you can smile all you want. In the early 1950s, the Puerto Rican women were used for experimentation in the making of the first birth control pill. The pill was invented by Dr. Gregory Goodwin Pincus. But strict laws in the U.S. didn't permit full-scale experimentation. Of course not. They're going to do it to their people, right? In 1955, Dr. Pincus and his colleague, Harvard obstetrician and gynecologist Dr. John Rock, visited Puerto Rico and then decided it was a perfect place to test out their pill due to the lack of anti-birth control laws. And mind you, we were part of the United States. We are part of the United States as a commonwealth, at that time especially. The trials began in Rio Piedras, a city in Puerto Rico, but quickly moved throughout the poor sectors in the island. The experiments was based on poor and working class women. These women were not told the pill was experimental and were not told the negative effects the pill could have on them. 3 young women died during these experiments and no investigations were conducted to determine cause of death. Number 2, I want to go over this because you have you see here, that's called, they were the young lords here in the picture here. Okay, they were the Black Panthers, and then the Issachar, the Mexicans, had the brown berets, and then AIM, I believe, was the Native American version of this. All fighting for our freedom. It says the effect of colonization is very evident on the Puerto Rican people. La Ley de Moldaza was implanted by Governor Jesus T. Piñero on May 21st, 1948, which did not permit any Puerto Rican to show any patriotism or even display the Puerto Rican flag. Puerto Ricans were given citizenship in 1917 with the Jones Act. Puerto Rico, which is that's both. Read the Jones Act. Puerto Ricans were considered alien in the United States. Alien. But once the Jones Act took effect, more than 20,000 Puerto Ricans were drafted by the Army. That's why they made us citizens, so we can go fight in the Army, just like they did with the Buffalo Soldiers. Okay? They used us to fight against each other. With the United States came huge changes in the educational system, making American values and principles the main teachings in schools, and even forcing teachers to teach English. It wasn't until 1998 that Puerto Ricans changed back to Spanish as their main language in schools. School of the Americas, here in Arizona, you got Indian School Road. Kill the Indian, not the man, was the... Anyway, I digress, man. I went way too long. Any quick questions? All right. So I'm going to close it out here. Again, I apologize for going over, but hopefully this was edifying to you brothers and sisters. I'll probably at some point, Lord willing, life lasts, I've been meaning to go ahead and do a whole sit-down class. Maybe I'll record it and put it up on the IUIC with the captains or somewhere. I got to figure out how I'm going to do it. But I'll go more in depth. Like I said, I got hundreds of books proving that the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Israelites. So I'll go ahead and prove that with the scriptures. But hopefully this was edifying, brothers and sisters. I hope you, like I said, got a new look on things. If you were on the fence, hopefully this helped you out. All right. All right, brothers and sisters, with that, enjoy the rest of your day. I say shalom.